I think more specifically, being able to see the hidden opportunities within adversity is just like a superpower that great entrepreneurs can cultivate and have. And why it's so important is that most people, if they don't have that intention or awareness, will give up. They're gonna feel struggle, they're gonna feel adversity, see it as a red light rather than a green light, and back the F up and run away. And that can either be your unfortunate chink in your armor, or it could be your advantage. And so I like to think of it as a superpower. And when I feel struggle or see struggle, rather than seeing it as, oh shit, I need to back down, I think this is my opportunity to outperform myself and outperform my competition. And so I think with every struggle, every adversity, there is always gold. There is always opportunity.
Welcome, fellow entrepreneurs and goal getters, to Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within, with myself, Kelly Beveridge, your host, and our special guest today, all the way from Australia. Super stoked to have him here, Andy Anderson. I've just known this guy briefly, and already I love his energy. You can tell he's just got a big heart. He's got a drive for success. He wants to impact other people. Right now, his goal is to help other coaches and service-based entrepreneurs build their business to 7 figures and have peak performance. And he's done that through his own experience in his life. Just a few things about Andy. He's had a multifaceted career in business and fitness. He's the CEO and founder of Relentless Education. He has a podcast as well called Relentless Education. Go check it out. He was a professional athlete in the sport of WBFF. And he's an internationally published author. And I love this title of the book, Andy. I'm going to get it. The Ultimate You: Change Your Mind, Transform Your Life. So just really excited to talk to Andy. Today, we were just quickly chatting before the call and about a topic I'm passionate about, because as the listeners, as I've shared, I went through what I deemed the biggest failure in my career about 1.5 years ago, and picked up the socks and my bootstraps and pulled myself up from the trenches and moved on forward. And so this is what we're going to talk today about, and I'm excited to learn from Andy. So we're going to be talking about triumphing over adversity and a conversation of overcoming failure. And so just Andy, welcome to the call.
Kelly, thank you for having me. I'm really stoked to be here, and I love what you do. I love the message that you preach and teach. So excited to share some golden nuggets, hopefully, and add some value to your audience.
I love it. And as we do, I was stalking your Instagram before the episode today, and I thought, hey, the video that you aired today is relevant to our podcast. And so I'm going to start with this question, which is, why do you feel struggle and embracing our moments of failure can become our biggest ally and secret weapon? And that's what your message was today. So I thought, what a great way to start the episode today.
Yeah, such a great question. And look, I think I'm very competitive, and I think it's me versus me, but also sometimes me versus the world. And I always look for the competitive advantage in everything that I do. And when you are challenging yourself, you versus you, or you versus someone else in the marketplace or anything like that, one of your biggest advantages is being able to push through or work through the struggle, work through the challenges, work through the adversity. I think more specifically, being able to see the hidden opportunities within adversity is just like a superpower that great entrepreneurs can cultivate and have. And why it's so important is that most people, if they don't have that intention or awareness, will give up. They're gonna feel struggle, they're gonna feel adversity, see it as a red light rather than a green light, and back the F up and run away. And that can either be your unfortunate chink in your armor, or it could be your advantage. And so I like to think of it as a superpower. And when I feel struggle or see struggle, rather than seeing it as, oh shit, I need to back down, I think this is my opportunity to outperform myself and outperform my competition. And so I think with every struggle, every adversity, there is always gold. There is always opportunity. And if you can, I guess, flex the muscle or build the muscle around seeing that and seizing those opportunities, it is so hard to lose long term.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you say that, and how did that resiliency come about? Like, you're a professional athlete, you're an entrepreneur. I feel that as an athlete and an entrepreneur, there's so much skill set and mindset that's similar with the resilience and the understanding that adversity builds strength.
Mm.
Yet, what would you say to the listeners? Like, how do they adopt that kind of mindset to begin with?
Yeah, look, I think there's a few different ways you can cultivate this mindset. I feel like I started to cultivate it quite young just because I had to face a lot of adversity naturally. I lost my dad early on. I lost my brother to suicide. We had a lot of financial challenges in the family growing up. So I think because I was just in the trenches of adversity a lot growing up, I had to I had to choose a path. Either I was going to see it as an opportunity and work through it, or choose a different path and maybe end up in jail or something. I don't know. But again, I think
Mhm.
because of that fact, I started to decide on choosing a better path, a better version, and seeing struggle as a gift rather than as a setback. And then as I started to delve more into personal development and wanting to change my life and be successful, I just started to notice that that was a pattern, a mindset pattern in the most successful people in the world. And I'm obsessed with biographies. I love reading. I might just actually show you something here. You can see my wall here of
Oh,
with all
yeah.
my entrepreneurial masterminds. And I read these biographies of these individuals, and all of them had similar things in common, and especially around their mindset and around how they approach adversity, challenge, and struggle, and try to stand on the shoulders of giants as well. Not only learn from your own experiences, but learn from the best of the best. So I think with all of that combined, you start to see a pretty clear strategy that you can deliver in your own life.
It's kind of like as you're speaking, I'm thinking with resistance or adversity, it gives us choice, right? Choosing to be willing to do something different, to level up, to change strategy, to
Uh,
change the way we're going about things. And if we didn't have that in our life, in our
mm.
path, we probably wouldn't become the amazing people we're meant to be as because that's what causes us to growth, right? Without that adversity, I don't know where I would be actually right now. I wouldn't be the version of the self I am today talking to you.
Yeah, well, it changes you, right? It toughens you up for sure. It makes you smarter if you choose to let it make you smarter, of course. But I definitely feel like it also hones in your ability to see the right opportunities. I think when you're a early stage entrepreneur, a little bit more naive in the business space, every opportunity looks like a good opportunity. When you're just like shiny object, this could be good, this could work. You're super naive. I think you jump into businesses that have a bit of a romance or a bit of a fantasy about them. And then as you go through them, initially ran a lot on passion and decisions like that. And I jumped into a bunch of different businesses in multiple times, like restaurants, I had a restaurant, nightclub, bar, worst business I've ever had, terrible. But it sounded like a good idea and it seemed exciting. You go through these things and you choose these businesses and you face adversity and sometimes failure. And through that, you hone your skills as an entrepreneur, really identifying what great opportunities are, what sort of margins you want to look for in a business, what sort of overheads, and what sort of staffing levels do you want to deal with or not deal with. And there's so much in the entrepreneurial game that you need to learn over time. And failure is often your best teacher in really, I guess, cultivating the best version of you as an entrepreneur and as a human.
Absolutely. And maybe, Andy, take us back to a time in your entrepreneurial journey. When was maybe an example or two of your darkest moments when it came to failure within a business? And what emotions did you face and had to come to terms with?
Mm.
And then how did you find the strength to push through?
Yeah. Cool, big question, and it was a huge thing for me at the time. Definitely, so it was about 5 years ago. Everyone can probably remember COVID hit. We had similar to you actually in Canada. We had one of the longest lockdowns in the world in Victoria. So Victoria will close for basically 3 years on and off, and it was insane. I had 18 gyms. I had a nightclub, restaurant, a food prep business, and basically all of the industries that were shut down the most, I was in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And at the stage, we were growing rapidly. I had an amazing brand. Me and my ex-wife, we were building this thing purely on passion and excitement for like 12 years. and I'd been in the gym space for about 15 years. And so we built a gym from one location. I raised $500,000 for my first location. We built that up. It was extraordinary. Got a second gym in Sydney. Then we opened a third gym, and then we decided to franchise and we started growing. And we were just on this trajectory of wins and success, and it was phenomenal. Got a book deal. I got a TV show deal here in Australia as well. So everything was just rocketing. And then like that COVID hit. And of course that first 12 months was fine. But by year 2 and year 3, it just absolutely bled the business. We had, of course, rent overheads that we didn't really get breaks from. We had finance on equipment. We had staffing to look after. We had other sort of business lines in the background. Then, of course, with all the chaos, we had crazy amount of legal expenses started to take place, arguments with landlords. It was just the most insane experience you could imagine. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong at that time. And by the end of it, we just had no option but to start closing locations and start closing businesses. So it was a trajectory up and then a fast trajectory down. And it was shocking. It was scary. We went from like incredible cash flow and growth to all cash flow stopping. And so it was very taxing mentally, emotionally, physically even. But on the other side of that, long story short, it all ended up, a lot of it wound up. We had to close a lot of them. I think by the end of year 3, we went from 18 to 5. And then slowly I decided that I wanted to get out of the gyms completely, and we started winding down those gyms. But through that, because I had no option but to pivot online, I moved my fitness stuff online. I started doing sales and marketing coaching online. And then really some huge opportunities started to grow from the seeds of pivoting when we had no option. And look, long story short, I could go on about all the ups and downs, but it was an insane time. My identity, just from a mindset standpoint, I was so mentally and emotionally linked with that business in a huge way. Like me and my wife built that business, my ex-wife, we built that business around me basically, and me being that brand. And so it was like a piece of me died. And I think a piece of me did die, to be honest. I came out of that fire a different human in so many different ways. And now looking back, I'm so grateful for it. It's the best thing that could ever happen to me now, not then, definitely, but now. And I can, explain why that is. But going through that and ripping a part of your soul out and having to reinvent yourself in so many different ways was an extraordinary process, a painful one. But I will say this, once you do that once, it gives you a sense of power that you'll never know until you go through that. Because now I truly know nothing can stop me. I didn't, you think that previously, but you're unsure. When you go through something like that to that extreme and you come out better, wow, actually are unstoppable. And so that's the gift I got to give myself through that journey.
Oh my gosh. First of all, like, great job getting through that. That's crazy.
Thank
And
you.
I can understand how your identity gets connected to what you're doing, your vision, right? It's
Oh,
so, like, as you're speaking, what comes to mind is I'm like, it's any kind of failure, you're almost going through a grieving
yeah,
process, right? As
totally.
it's going on. So maybe chat about this, because here's my question. Once you're through it, and we'll talk about the blessings, yet it's hindsight is 2020, right? It's always easier to see the blessings once you're through it. Once when you're in it, what did you do? Like, what was the process you went through, and what guidance could you give maybe the listeners right now that they're going through something similar, or they've failed at some area in their business or their life, and they're in that space of their emotions are pretty high
Yeah.
around it, in the grieving space. Yet, what are some steps that people can start doing to get themselves moving back forward towards growth and expansion? And what else is next, and what can be possible, so we can shorten the time frame of being stuck and missing the opportunities that might be coming our way?
Totally. Yeah. I think, look, number one, you've got to put health and mental health first and foremost. So what that means is when you're going through emotional stress like that, I guess your instinct is to numb it as quickly as you can through alcohol, through drugs, through I don't know, whatever your vice is, but my strong advice is to stay away from as much of the depressants as possible, as much of the numbing as possible, and find better vehicles to keep yourself sharp and up. So fitness, making sure you're eating clean, you're not eating like shitty foods. All of that will make your anxiety, your stress completely amplified. And one of the things that I'm obviously in the fitness space, I'm an athlete, so it's maybe a little bit easier for me because I've crafted this routine for years and years. If I didn't have my health as like the core through that phase, I don't know. I don't know how I would have ended up. I really made that a priority. I just knew intuitively I had to make that a focus. So I stayed fit, kept my routine, kept my food as clean as possible. I did drink every now and then. Probably should have stayed away from wine a little bit more than I did. Again, I think that that could have been a better move to make, eliminating wine completely. All of those things will keep your sanity and keep you focused more than you would be if you were just intoxicating yourself all of the time. So that's number one. I think number two, from a sort of spiritual sense, you need to have faith in in the future. You need to have faith in you, and whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever your beliefs are. I think you have to have this foundational faith that it's happening for you, not to you. And I kept just trying to force myself back to that truth, which I really believe is real. And I kept saying to myself, I know you can't see it now, but this is happening for you, not to you. Your path is already set. Your destiny is set. You're just getting pushed in the direction to take you to the next level. And even though it was jarring, painful, the contrast was extreme, I just had to have faith that there was something better on the other side of this. And I was all for a purpose. And I kept reminding myself that. I kept journaling on that. And through that and through reminding myself, it really did, I think, take the edge off and help me just detach a little bit, release from having to try to control all of that in the moment challenges and problems and just let the universe take care of it. So I think some of those sort of reminders and mindset points will really help you move forward. And then thirdly, I think just making sure that you are thinking, not overthinking, but constantly thinking about what would the ideal life look like after you're done with this challenge? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Have a bit of grace with yourself. You don't need to jump into $1 million business straight away. Give yourself time to grieve and feel and relax a little bit too. But always have your eye on the ball. What could be that next big version of you? Because when you think it and feel it, you'll know, and then you can move forward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. And I didn't have a similar journey, although as I shared, even myself too, when I felt like I'd failed, the first thing I did was what you talked about is I said, you know what? I'm not sure what I'm in control of right now. Yeah, I'm in control of my health,
Yes.
both my physical health and my mental
Yeah.
health. So I'm just going to focus on that. And I can tell you that's where clarity comes from, right? When we're feeling great and we have some energy and our mindset's back on track, then it's easier to find solutions and even think of what could be possible. And so I love everything that you just talked about, Andy. So awesome. I'm curious. I have a question because this is almost even more for myself. I need this answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was building my business, it collapsed after COVID as well. I was in South Africa and I could have, I could have decided to regroup, rebuild, do it again. I'd been in my business for 12 years, blood, sweat, and tears, put everything on the line. And just listening to your story, like you went backwards, you're at your 5 gyms, and then you made that decision. No, I'm going to let it go and go reinvent myself and take my skill set and apply it
Mm,
somewhere else. And
mm,
I decided to do that too. But here's my question. How do you know when that is the right decision? Because I went through so much angst in my mindset of, am I giving up? Am I giving up? Am I throwing in the towel? Am I not willing to do whatever it takes, which I pride
Love that.
myself
For
on?
sure.
And oh my gosh, I went through that. So I'm just curious your take on that of like, when is it okay to change directions? Or how do you know if you have put everything in that you got and it's okay to then change directions? Or are you quitting
Yes.
too soon? Like, what's the answer to
Yeah.
that? I don't know if you have one, but
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Such a great question. And it's so interesting because I thought the same thing. I went through that exact same thinking and feeling process. And when you've been in something for so long and it's almost all you know, or you just know it so
Mhm.
well that it's hard to move away from, you've really got to remove the emotion from the vehicle, right? And one of the things that sort of triggered my thinking around this was I heard someone say, I can't remember the entrepreneur, but someone said that you can sometimes have a level 10 skill set, but be in a level 3 vehicle. And to truly reach your full potential, you need to match a level 10 skill set with a level 10 vehicle. And that's the fastest way to get from where you are now to where you want to be. And with that in mind, I had a look at my vehicles, which is the businesses, of course, and my skill sets. And I was thinking, is the vehicle that I've been in for the last 12 years or so a level 10 vehicle. And how do you evaluate that? You got to evaluate the profit margins. You got to evaluate the stress levels. You've got to evaluate the expenses, the liabilities and the risk. And so I'm looking at the vehicle that I was in, and then I was in that time to make money doing all of my things online. And I was looking at the current vehicles and I was just matching up industries, looking at my skill set, where can I apply what I know? And being a CEO of a large franchise business, I'd been in cafes, media, a whole bunch of different things. I knew I had a few opportunities and I could apply them, but I really wanted to. Previously, I was very rushed into things. I'd be like, I like that idea. I'm all in, done. This time, I wanted to take my time a little bit and fully evaluate and be very strategic about it. And so that's what I did. I looked at my skill set. I looked at the vehicles. I try to remove emotion from it and think about what is the actual destination and what are the things that I truly want out of it. Not what maybe looks the coolest or what's the best for my ego at the time. Really evaluating things more from a strategic standpoint. And so with all that said, I removed emotion. I looked at the vehicles. And when you compare, I'll use the gym game as an example. All my rents were $150,000. We'd have 10 staff at least. You've got super and all the other things that come with that. You've got equipment financing, usually couple of $100,000 in there. You've got fluctuating staff prices up and down. In Australia, the gym market's now absolutely saturated. So lots of competition. And so also on top of that, your marketing challenges being geographically restricted, you can only market a certain mile radius around your building. And I'm looking at that. And then I'm looking at my sales and marketing coaching and my online fitness stuff. And I'm like, wow, I'm marketing all over the world, no restrictions. I'm not paying any rents or overheads. I've got a great head office here in Gold Coast, but it's one, not 18 times 150. And in regards to the margins of online businesses, they're extraordinary, 80 to 90% compared to gym space, which is 20, 30, 40% if you're lucky. And so looking at that, I started to very quickly and clearly see that my level 10 skill set needed to be matched with a hypercharged level 10 opportunity. And so I chose the opportunity over what I knew, which was a little bit scary just because it's not as uncertain, but I had trust in myself and faith in myself that I would always find a way. And I did. And so I hope that answered your question, but that's just basically the thought process that I went through. And I really think you need to remove your emotion from the business. And I guess my quick bit of advice around attaching your identity to a business would be that you need to love your vehicles and love your business, but never let it actually be your identity. You need to keep that separate. You need to make sure that you are strong no matter what happens in life. That's why health and fitness is such a core part of who you need to be from an identity standpoint, because if you can control that always and you're always within your power there, no matter what happens to your vehicles, you're still on point and you may need to pivot, but your mission never changes. Your mission is always the same, but the vehicles, the direction may need to change. And if you are strong in yourself, you'll always be able to pivot.
Oh my gosh, I love your answer. Such a brilliant answer. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
amazing.
I really like that. And you talked about how failure could become your biggest teacher. And I think you just explained really wonderfully from a business perspective how that became such a great teacher for you because night and day vehicles that you were using. And I'm curious how it became your teacher personally, like for yourself and what you believe in yourself and just what you learned about yourself and the person you are now because of that experience.
Mm. Yeah. So some of the lessons that I learned. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
so many, and it would probably have to go for 5 hours. But I think number one, the lesson that I learned is no matter what happens in business, I'm always going to find a way. It's that simple. I think I think when you build a really successful business like I did, and we were, I guess it was the first big loss I've ever had. And before that, probably felt a little bit invincible. And when you feel the pain of a big failure, but then you're able to come back. And after pivoting, me and my business partner, we built Relentless Education in the first 8 months. We did like 1.6 million in the first 8 months. And now 2.5 years later, it's only just grown and grown and grown. And when you're able to do that again and you do it at a high level, but you do it better and you make better decisions and you perform better as an individual, I think you then realize that number one, you're not a one hit wonder. Number two, no matter what, how many punches that you cop, you get back up and you can do better with all of the challenges and the lessons and the learnings. And so for me, it just reinforced my confidence, but also my humility, to be honest. I think I've come out of that a way better leader and a way better human in general than I was before. I think at times, I don't think I was extreme, but I think at times I was probably a bit cocky. At times I thought I was invincible. At times, maybe not as humble as I would like to be or see myself as. And I think that was a bit of kick in the ass that I needed to just remind myself that I'm human. We're all human. You've got to give yourself grace and others grace sometimes, as well as be accountable and charge forward. And so I think I'm a better person because of that. I think I'm more humble, yet more confident. I think I'm more certain. I think I know how to see problems faster and avoid them quicker. And I also know how to see opportunities in a better light and put my energy into things worthwhile rather than just spread myself thin across a whole bunch of different shiny objects. And so I could go on and on, but hopefully that's like a tidbit of the lessons that I picked up along the way. Mm.
Yeah, no, I love it. And as you're speaking too, I think for myself, it's like if there's something I want to accomplish or create and I haven't done it before, I look to who else has done it. Then that gives me validation. If someone else can do it, then I can do it. And then to your point, once you have created it once and something happens, now you have the validation for yourself that you've done it. Like you said, you're gonna win at business because you've won at business. So that is like just take that question off the
Yeah,
table
exactly.
and it makes it a heck of a lot easier, right? For our mindset and clarity that like, I can do this because I did it before. So of course I can do it again and better.
So true. So true. And the first time you're doing it again, it's harder to believe. But once you do it twice, forever. From that point, forever, that you're good to go. And well, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful gift to give yourself. I think that truly then makes you a real entrepreneur. I before I considered myself a good entrepreneur because I'd grown, I'd built a franchise system. We did have 20 million in sales, had the nightclubs, the book, and all these different things. But until I lost it and then came back, now I can consider myself a great entrepreneur, like a legit entrepreneur. And I'm really proud of that. And I think that anyone that's gone through a challenge like that, you should wear that as a badge of honor. Don't shy from it. Don't hide from it. It's actually power. And it's probably the greatest gift that you'll ever receive.
Absolutely. As you're speaking, you didn't use this language, but what came to my mind is playing to win. And I'm wondering if you could chat about that because I think in business, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. That's a big part of what I do. And I see that there's this disconnect where most people play not to lose. And so, what would your take be on that coming out of adversity and overcoming what you did? Like this I feel like what I'm getting from you through the screen is like you have this insatiable like desire that you play to
Mm,
win. Yet how does somebody step into that? Because it's easy to just say, "Hey, Andy, play to win," and then you'll create the success.
mm.
Yet, like, how does somebody bring that kind of mindset and mentality to the table?
Yeah, I think playing to win is crucial, but and it's not just about the end goal, like the macro goal. It's about who you become on the journey to that destination. And probably that's probably even more important than the actual destination, to be honest. And it's the same as an athlete. I noticed that so much in my competing days and my competing moments where I'd get on stage and I won my pro card and it was phenomenal. But the actual where I got the most juice out of the squeeze was the daily grind of becoming that pro. And all of those efforts, showing up when I didn't want to, showing up when I didn't feel like it, seeing those micro improvements every day. And it's the same in business. And it's the same in any way that you challenge yourself. I skydive. I got my solo skydiving license, and I chose that because I fucking hate heights. Like, I'm scared shitless of heights. And my biggest fear is falling off out of a plane. And that always scared the shit out of me. And I actually decided to do this after the failure, the business failure, because I thought I need to prove to myself that I am the person that I want to be, and I am the person that I say that I am. And so I decided to start just showing up and facing every dark part of me, every fearful part of me. And part of that was choosing skydiving. Part of that was rebuilding multiple businesses. Part of that was delving into ayahuasca and doing some other things that just helped me
Mhm.
face some internal things. And I think that when you're playing to win, it's about those daily micro improvements and keeping promises to yourself where maybe previously you would give up, or previously you would just not show up for yourself. And that's where the gold is. And if you're playing to win, it's not just about those hitting a $10,000 cash deal or buying that house or any of those bigger moments. It really is about those micro wins during the day and who you become on that journey. And I think if you can master those, you will inevitably get to the end, and you'll always be in a willing mentality.
I love that. I'm curious what your thoughts are as a follow-up question to that, because I used to operate from playing to win meant hustle culture that, you know, if I'm not creating it in 10 hours, then I got to put in 15. And to your point of playing to win is also, like you say, those micro doses, keeping your word, working on becoming a version of yourself. I'm curious your point of view of this from obviously male perspective, masculine
Yeah.
perspective, yet what, because I feel, and this is a generalization, but most masculine perspective is hustle. And I grew my business from a masculine
Yeah, I love
perspective.
it.
Right. And one thing I'm working on doing is how do I still create 10x without necessarily having the hustle there, yet the productivity. So my question for you is, how do we have healthy hustle? Does
Mm.
this make sense? Does my question make sense?
For sure. And I really like, it's such a great question. And I really think it depends on who you are and what your values are. I don't think there's a simple answer to that, because that everyone has to understand there's no right or wrong. Your goals are your goals. Your values are your values. Your values shift at different times in your life. I think you need to be good with that first and foremost, and understand that sometimes there is time for absolutely filthy, disgusting hustle, and that is all you do. And then there's times where you've got what you could call balance, where it might be 50-50. I think you need to be willing to ride the waves and the peaks and the troughs at the different periods of your life. And there is no right or wrong. I think when I was going, like, the last 5 years have been such an interesting time for me, where
Mhm.
a part of that, I needed to remove some of the hustle and just, I don't know, it was like my nervous system just needed to rebuild or something. I needed to just quiet myself down a little bit and regroup and re-energize and just get my mindset back on track. And that's what I focused on more than the hustle, even though there's always a level of hustle. Right now, at this period of time, I'm like building multiple companies and I'm working extraordinary hours, but to me, it doesn't feel like hustle because I just love what I do. Like, I'm really passionate about building, and I'm excited by it. To answer your question, how do you find that balance? Only you as an entrepreneur, as a human, can answer that. But I think what you need to focus on is get over the mentality that you always need to be on for the sake of being on, and let yourself just ride the wave of where you're currently at and be cool with that. Because I think if you are a real entrepreneur, you'll know the time when you've got to turn it up. But as a professional human and someone who's intelligent, you also need to know when to turn it down. And that's a bit of an art and a science. But on the journey of, I think, maturity, you will feel through that and find your way. So I know that's not a really specific answer, but I think that's the best one I can give.
No, I like it. It's like there's seasons, right? And it's
Seasons,
like
yeah.
understanding that there's seasons and just you know where you're at and what season and where things need to be. And yeah, I agree because it's just something I'm playing with too. And of course, because it's on my mind, what I'm focused on, it becomes a topic of conversation. And you mentioned the nervous system is like my belief is making sure if I can, to the best of my ability, have my nervous system be as calm, right, as possible while I'm growing my business in a urgent, extreme manner. And so that would actually be maybe a question for you is what do you do on a daily basis? What's your practice for your mindset? And you talked about nervous system regulation and just to keep yourself calm so you can go out and build your business at the rate you are.
Yeah, I've got a very strict morning ritual that I've done for years and years. I wake up, first thing I do is I wake up, I'm a double espresso. I do my vision and goal setting, which I'm really clear on. I spend a few minutes just closing my eyes, doing some visualization, connecting to my future self. I find that really important just to remind myself of why I'm here, the mission that I'm on. And that always gives me butterflies. It excites me. I do a workout, I do my ice bath, and then I get to work from there. And that's like my morning ritual to shift state, get me really focused on who I need to be, what I need to do. And that's worked for me for a very long time. And I love that practice. And then during the day, depending on how intense things are, like for example, on a big day where it's like highly a lot of sales, for example, I've got my rebounder there. I have to jump in between meetings, jump on the rebounder, get myself activated, get back on a call. I do that every day. But I've really delved into meditation a lot in the last 12 months. The last two and a bit years, I've been on a bit of a journey utilizing ayahuasca and a few other things and connected with individuals that have taught me meditation, which I find so freaking hard, by the way. I don't know. Some people just do it well and I don't. My mind is crazy at the best of times. So it's been a real discipline for me and a real challenge, more so than skydiving. I found skydiving really hard, but meditation's harder. And so for me, when I get really stressed, I try to just do like a 5 to 10 minute meditation and center myself and calm myself. And it has been game changing. It has been phenomenal just for my heart, soul. Like I feel so much more aligned and just connected to me through that practice now. And that's really helped me. So I think they're the best rituals that I utilize personally every day just to keep me on track. And I find that they work really well for mind and heart sort of alignment.
I love that.
Mm,
Okay, so Andy, I have a few just random
yeah.
questions to before we start wrapping up, and then we'll have you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and where to find you, and we'll put all that stuff, good stuff, in the show notes. But these aren't in like the particular order, but just a few questions. So, first question I have, because even though you're building your business, I'm seeing a strong presence of you online, right? And you can be in terms like influence, content creator. So my question is, do what would you say for people who are experiencing when it comes to failure? Do you talk about it in your content when you're in it or when once you're through it?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. Look, I think it's easier to talk about it when you're through it. It's definitely harder to talk about it when you're really in it. I think it's really a personal decision. If you can bring yourself to do it in a resourceful way, then it could be useful. But I think it's probably more powerful after the fact when you've rebuilt and working through, you've already worked through that journey. I think it really does come down to the individual and how you communicate. But I will say this, when you're in the mix, it's very hard to communicate it and rebuild at the same time. So I think on an individual basis, you can make that call. Yeah.
Awesome. Good advice. Okay, next question. So you've gone through your failure, you've come out on the other side, you've experienced this resiliency. How do you feel it's influenced your leadership style today?
Mm. Yeah, great question. I think in regards to my leadership style, I am definitely, like I said before, more humble in a good way. I feel like I'm able to access empathy and grace a little bit more accessibly these days in a resourceful way. And but I also feel like I'm able to hold people to a higher standard and hold people more accountable as well, because of the ups and downs that I've had. So I think if I was able to summarize it, it would be a more calm, certain style of leadership than probably previously that I had.
Yeah, awesome. And what would you say is your version of success now?
Yeah, great question. Definitely, financial success is a huge part of that, but for me, it's actually more about my character and my ability now. Like looking good and saying you're good is one thing, but actually being that, embodying those lessons every day to me is the most valuable thing. And that's why I'm always challenging myself, skydiving, pushing my body, jiu-jitsu, trying to fine tune my character in certain ways, live up to certain virtues every day. Those are the hardest things to do in life. So not only do I want to be great in business now, but I'm definitely doubling down on just trying to be the best human that I can be. And I feel like that's, to me, that's success.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go skydiving because it's my biggest fear too. And
Oh,
it's
good.
like you keep bringing it up, and I'm like, "Ah."
Yes.
So if I end up doing it, I'll let you know.
Right.
Andy,
Yes. I would
I
love
did
that.
it.
Yeah, it's life changing. It'll change your life. Never be more proud of
Yeah,
yourself. Just jump and land.
yeah, right. But I get the context behind it. Face your fears, man. Like, okay. And on that note, just two more questions. My podcast is called The Back End is Unleashing Greatness Within. What are three tips you would give the listeners to unleash their inner
Oh,
greatness?
I love that. Look, number one is like challenge yourself every single day. Challenge the uncomfortable. Whatever you are feeling uncomfortable around, whether it's a conversation, learning a skill set, facing a fear, see that as the green light, not the red light. That is your compass. That is your lighthouse. And if you can follow that, on the other side of that is the best version of yourself every single day. Number two would be never stop learning. Like dedicate yourself to learning every single day, whether that's reading, whether that's just learning about yourself through journaling and different experiences. Learning is the foundation to your growth and to the next version of you. So on top of challenging yourself every day, be a voracious learner and just be in the mix every single day. And then number three, I would say to unleash your greatness. Yeah, learn to for fine tune the ability to see the adversity, the gift in all of the adversity, and I think that's you know on topic to what we're talking about. But if you truly want to unleash your greatness, you are constantly going to face new demons every level. So new levels, new devils, as they say, right? So every time you push
Yeah.
yourself to a new level, you're going to face another block, another adversity. If you can fine tune your ability to see the win, to see the gold in that at every new level, you will truly find the best version of yourself and unleash your greatness. And I think that is a gift that will always pay dividends the more you can dedicate yourself to learning it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And okay, so Andy, what would be a call to action you would give the listeners based on your message today that they could get off this episode and implement right away this week into their life?
Mm.
What's one thing?
Go skydiving. Let's go. No. I mean, if I could just summarize, number one, take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and physically. That is the core to everything you do. The common denominator in every single win that you'll ever have, every vehicle in your life, it's you, how you show up mentally, emotionally, and physically. So if you can master that part, generally everything else is going to be way more successful. And then to our point earlier, if you're an entrepreneur, start detaching any specific vehicle and really think about, if I have a level 10 skill set, how can I match that with a level 10 vehicle? And I think that if we can think more like that strategically, you're going to save yourself years of struggle, heartache, and pain and get yourself to the outcome so much faster.
Oh my gosh. Andy, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing all your wisdom and your life experience. And that's what it is, right? It's life experience. And you share so wonderfully in a way that's so relatable. And I just really appreciate you coming on. I know the listeners are getting so much value. And where can they continue to follow you? Because I know that they're going to want to see what you're up to, check into your businesses. So can you maybe share what is your business and then where can we find you?
Absolutely. So you can find out more about me. Probably Instagram's the best social media platform to find me. Andy_I_Anderson on Instagram. From there, you'll be able to navigate your way to YouTube and all these other areas. And you can also check out my business, relentlesseducation.com.au, where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and experts build seven-figure businesses. And so they're probably the best two places to find me.
Awesome. So everybody go check out Andy. he's phenomenal. I've been following you on Instagram. Your content is awesome. It's on point. It's inspiring. You're inspiring. And just thank you so much for taking time out of your day and showing up here today to inspire myself and the listeners. Really appreciate your time.
Really appreciate that. And again, Kelly, you're doing such an amazing job on this channel, and I love everything you're about and everything you do. So thank you so much for having me.
I just want to thank Andy for being on today's episode. Such a powerful episode, and just really grateful for him to come on and share his story of achieving such tremendous success and then going through a massive setback and then coming out, regrouping, coming out of the gate stronger, learning so much, and continuing to move forward towards what his idea of success is for himself. And I have seen failure, quote unquote failure, take so many people off track and stop them from getting their goals and their belief in themselves and for what's possible. And I just love his message that it can be our greatest teacher. It truly can. So just thank you, Andy, so much for being here. For those of you who are in business and you're looking for support to grow your business, he's running right now a program. Head over to his website. We'll put it in the show notes on how to achieve $10,000 months in 4 weeks with the how-to, the system, the structure, the guidance, the coaching. So go and check it out. He clearly knows what he's doing. He's created and is creating that himself and then some, right? Multi-millionaire. And so go and check out his courses. And just really appreciate him being here. Thank you, everybody, for coming on and listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, friendly reminder to like, subscribe, go and leave a review, reach out to me, comment, ask questions. All of that is welcome. And just thanks so much for listening. With love, greatness, and success, it's your host, Kelly Beveridge.